Hi everyone. I hope you're doing well and safe. So today we are going to talk about income tax. So before we proceed, let me just share my slide with you. Okay. So we are gonna be discussing income tax, the general principles, the basic concepts. So before we proceed with the general principles, let's define what an income first. So in the broad sense, it means all wealth that flows into the taxpayer other than a mere return of capital. So it includes the forms of income specifically described as gains, profits, including gains derived from sale or other disposition of capital assets. It also means cash received or its equivalent. So it is the amount of money coming to a person or corporation within a specified time, whether as payment for services, interest, or profit from investment. So unless otherwise provided or specified, income means cash or its equivalent. Now let's define income tax. So uh, income tax is a tax on all profits arising from property, professions, trades or offices, or as a tax on a person's income, emoluments, profits, and the like. So we will be discussing all of this in detail later when we get to the part of the kinds of taxpayers and the kinds of types of income tax in the Philippines. Now, let's talk about the nature of income tax. So, it is a kind of tax levied upon the privilege of receiving income or profit. So, it is an excise tax and not a tax on property. So, it is a tax imposed on an individual or a corporation once it receives income or profit from business or from the salaries of an individual who is receiving. So that is the nature of income tax. Now let's go to the general principles of income taxation. So, except when otherwise provided in this code, in under section 23 of the tax code, um, we will see here a table, um, who and what are taxable on that particular person or entity. First, let's talk about a citizen of the Philippines residing therein. So, a resident, a Filipino citizen. So, they are taxable on all income derived from sources within and without the Philippines. So, when the Filipino citizen is residing in the Philippines, all incomes he is receiving, even within or outside the Philippines, are taxable in the Philippines. Now let's go to the non-resident citizen. So this means that he is a Filipino citizen but not residing in the Philippines. So what are they taxable on? Only on income derived from sources within the Philippines. So if they receive income from other countries or from where they are currently residing and not in the Philippines, that's not taxable. Only sources within the Philippines are taxable. Um, how about an individual citizen of Philippines who is working and deriving income from abroad as an overseas contract worker? So this talks about the contract workers. So they are taxable on uh, income derived from sources within the Philippines, provided that a seaman who is a citizen now, this one, in the case of seaman, who is a citizen of the Philippines and who receives compensation for services rendered abroad as a member of the complement of a vessel engaged exclusively in international trade shall be treated as overseas contract worker. So this is an example of an overseas contract worker, a seaman. So as a general rule, the seaman or OFWs, overseas Filipino workers or the overseas contract workers are exempt from tax or from income tax. However, if they have other sources of income in the Philippines, like for example, they have business here in the Philippines, that will be taxable. So how about an alien individual, whether a resident or not of the Philippines? So only on income derived from sources within the Philippines are taxable. So we cannot, the Philippine government cannot tax income derived outside the Philippines, because this is, we are talking about here about an alien individual. How about a domestic corporation? How about a domestic corporation? So a domestic corporation is taxable on all income derived from sources within and without the Philippines. So a domestic corporation. So we will remember that all income derived from sources within and without the Philippines are taxable. How about a foreign corporation, whether engaged or not in trade or business in the Philippines, will be taxable on income derived from sources within the Philippines only. So like an alien individual, only sources within the Philippines are taxable. Also, it applies to foreign corporation, whether they are engaged or not in trade or business in the Philippines. So what the Philippine government can tax are only those sources within the Philippines. So we have to take note on that and remember that. Now let's go to the types of Philippine income taxes. First is the here graduated income tax on individuals. So every individual resident citizen of the Philippines will be imposed income tax derived for each taxable year from all sources within and without the Philippines. So all individual resident citizens, as we have talked about earlier in the general principles, that all sources within and without the Philippines per individual resident citizen are taxable. Individual citizen of the Philippines residing outside of the Philippines, including overseas contract workers. So they are the incomes derived for each taxable year and from all sources within the Philippines, as I have discussed earlier about the overseas contract workers. So this is just a reiteration. How about married individuals? So the husband and the wife shall compute separately their income tax based on the respective total taxable income. So if the husband and the wife has different incomes or let's say jobs, they will be taxed separately depending on their individual income. So provided that if any income cannot be definitely attributed to or identified as income exclusively earned or realized by either of the spouses, the same shall be divided equally between the spouses for the purpose of determining their respective taxable income. Now, the second type of income taxation in the Philippines is the regular or normal corporate income tax on corporations, or the RCIT, RCIT. So, for domestic corporations, 35% taxable income derived during each taxable year from all sources within and without the Philippines by every corporation. So, we are talking here about domestic corporations. So, within and without the Philippines are taxable for 35% a rate that is found or derived from NIRC Section 27, Paragraph A. Third is the minimum corporate income tax on corporations, or the MCIT or MCIT. For you to remember faster, MCIT. Now, 2% of the gross income as of the end of the taxable year will be imposed. And this is hereby imposed on a corporation taxable under this title, beginning of the fourth taxable year immediately following the year in which such corporation commenced its business operations. So when the minimum income tax is greater than the tax computed under subsection A of this section for the taxable year, So this will apply. NIRC, Section 27, Paragraph E, the minimum corporate income tax on corporations. Now we go to the fourth type, special income tax on certain corporations. Example would be private educational institutions, because in recent discussions, we have already learned that non-profit, non-stock educational institutions are exempt from taxation. Now, this special income tax on certain corporations includes private educational institutions. This is one of the example. So they are non-profit and shall pay a tax of 10% on their taxable income. So if the gross income from unrelated trade, business, of other activity exceeds 50% of the total gross income derived from by such educational institutions, or say hospitals, from all sources, the tax prescribed in subsection A hereof shall be imposed on the entire taxable income. Now we go to the fifth one, capital gains tax on sale of unlisted shares of stocks of a domestic corporation classified as a capital asset. So the capital gains tax, or CGT. So what is this type of income tax? So these are net capital gains for the taxable year from the sale, barter, exchange, or other disposition of shares of stock in a domestic corporation, except shares sold or disposed of through the stock exchange. So if the net capital gains is not over 100,000 pesos, it will be taxed for the rate of 5%. And on any amount in excess of 100,000, the taxable rate will be 10%. Next is the capital gains tax on sale or exchange of real property located in the Philippines, classified as capital asset. So these are about real properties located in the Philippines. So the general rule is the final tax of 6% will be imposed, based on the gross selling price or current fair market value as determined in accordance with Section 6, Paragraph E of the Tax Code, whichever is higher. So this shall be imposed upon the capital gains presumed to have been realized from the sale, exchange, or other disposition of real property located in the Philippines, classified as capital assets, including facto de retro sales. So, and other forms of conditional sales by individuals, estates, and trusts. Provided that the tax liability, if any, on gains from sales or other dispositions of real property to the government or any of its political subdivisions or agencies, or to GOCCs, shall be determined either under Section 24, Paragraph A, or under this subsection at the option of the taxpayer. So what is the exception? Capital gains are presumed to have been realized from the scale of disposition of their principal residence by natural persons, the proceeds of which is fully utilized in acquiring or constructing a new principal residence within 18 calendar months from the date of the sale or disposition, and it shall be exempt from the capital gains tax imposed under this subsection, provided that the historical cost or adjusted basis of the real property sold or disposed shall be carried over to the new principal residence built or acquired, provided further that the commissioner shall have been duly notified by the taxpayer within 30 days from the date of sale or disposition through a prescribed return of his intention to avail of the tax exemption herein mentioned, and provided still further that the said tax exemption can only be availed of once every 10 years, and provided finally that if there is no full utilization, here, if there is no full utilization of the proceeds of sale or disposition, the portion of the gain presumed to have been realized from the sale or disposition shall be subject to capital gains tax. So for this purpose, the gross selling price of or the fair market value at the time of sale, whichever is higher, shall be multiplied by a fraction which the unutilized amount bears to the gross selling price in order to determine the taxable portion, and the tax prescribed under paragraph 1 of the subsection shall be imposed thereon. The seventh type is the final withholding tax, or the FWT, on certain passive investment income under NIRC Section 28, Paragraph B, Number 5, Subparagraph B. So this talks about intercorporate dividend, so the passive investment income. So a final withholding tax at the rate of 15% shall be imposed, and on the amount of cash and or property dividends received from a domestic corporation. How about the final withholding tax on income payments made to non-residents? So this could be individual or corporation. So subject to the condition that the country in which the non-resident foreign corporation is domiciled shall allow a credit against the tax due from the non-resident foreign corporation, taxes deemed to have been paid in the Philippines, equivalent to 20% for 1997, 19% for 1998, 18% for 1999, and 17% thereafter, which represents the difference between the regular income tax of 35% in 1997, 34% in 1998, and 33% in 1999, and 32% thereafter on corporations, and the 50% tax on dividends as provided in this subparagraph. So the ninth type is the fringe benefit tax, or FBT, under Section 33 of the NIRC. So these are the fringe benefit tax is any good, service, or other benefit furnished or granted in cash or in kind by an employer to an individual employee, except rank and file employees as they defined herein, such as, but not limited to, the following: housing. These are the fringe benefits: housing, expense account, vehicle of any kind, household personnel such as maid, um, drivers, and others. We also have the interest and loan at less than market rate to the extent of the difference between the market rate and actual rate granted. We also have the membership fees, dues, and other what we call these expenses borne by the employer for the employee in social and athletic clubs or other similar organizations if they are um, a member thereof. Seven is expenses for foreign travel, because sometimes the employees are allowed to travel. So these are one of their benefits. And eight, holiday and vacation expenses. Ninth is the educational assistance to the employee or his dependents, and life or health insurance and other non-life insurance premiums or similar amounts in excess of what the law allows. So these are the fringe benefits that will be taxable. So how are these? How are taxes imposed on the following? So a final tax of 34% effective January 1, 1998. 33% effective January 1, 1999, and 32% effective January 1, 2000, and thereafter. So these are tax imposed on the grossed up monetary value of fringe benefit furnished or granted to the employee, except the rank and file employees. So these are granted by the employer, whether an individual or a corporation, unless the fringe benefit is required by the nature of or necessary to the trade, business, or profession of the employer, or when the fringe benefit is for the convenience or advantage of the employer. So when are fringe benefits not taxable? So fringe benefits are not taxable if authorized and exempted from tax under special laws. Contributions to the employer for the benefit of the employee to retirement, insurance, and hospitalization benefit plans are also not taxable. Third one is the benefits given to the rank and file employees, whether granted under a collective bargaining agreement or not. And de minimis benefits as defined in the rules and regulations to be promulgated by the Secretary of Finance upon recommendation of the Commissioner. So the 10th type is the Branch Profit Remittance Tax, or BRPT. These are any profit remitted by a branch to its head office shall be subject to a tax of 15%. These are based on the total profits applied or earmarked for remittance without any deduction for the tax component, and except those activities which are registered with the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. And provided that interests, dividends, rents, royalties, including remuneration for technical services, salaries, wages, premiums, annuities, emoluments, or other fixed or determinable annual, periodic, or casual gains, profits, income, and capital gains received by a foreign corporation during each taxable year from all sources within the Philippines shall not be treated as branch profits unless the same are effectively connected with the conduct of its trade or business in the Philippines. So the 11th type is improperly accumulated earnings tax, or the IAET, under Section 29 of the NIRC. So this is equal to 10% of the improperly accumulated taxable income. So the tax on corporations under this type, generally, the improperly accumulated earnings tax imposed in the preceding section shall apply to every corporation formed or availed for the purpose of avoiding the income tax with respect to its shareholders or the shareholders of any other corporation by permitting earnings and profits to accumulate instead of being divided or distributed. The exceptions will be the improperly accumulated earnings tax provided for under this section shall not apply to publicly held corporations, banks and other non-bank financial intermediaries, and insurance companies. And the last but not the least type of Philippine income tax is the gross income tax, or GIT, under Section 27, Paragraph A of the NIRC. So what is gross income? Gross income are gross receipts, less sales returns, allowances and discounts, and the cost of goods sold. So the gross receipts is minus the sales returns, allowances and discounts, and the costs of the goods sold. The option to be taxed based on gross income shall be available only to firms whose ratio of cost of sales to gross sales or receipts from all sources does not exceed 55%. So we're done with the types of the Philippine income taxes. Um, we will proceed now to the taxable period. The taxable period comprises of the calendar period, fiscal period, and the short period. Now let's talk about a calendar period first. So calendar period refers to an accounting period which starts from January 1 to December 31. So from the first day of the year to the last day of the year. Taxable income shall be computed on the basis of the calendar year if the taxpayer's accounting period is other than the fiscal year as defined in Section 22, Paragraph Q of the NIRC. The taxpayer has no annual accounting period, and the taxpayer does not keep books or the taxpayer is an individual under Section 43 of the NIRC. So, these are the following who will be using a calendar period in reference to their taxes. How about fiscal period? So, fiscal period refers to an accounting period of 12 months ending on the last day of any month other than December. So, under Section 22, Paragraph Q of NIRC, which are allowed only for corporations. So, the fiscal period only applies to corporations and not to individual taxpayers. And the last period is the short period. This refers to an accounting period where income is computed on the basis of a period less than 12 months. So, as the word itself or the name itself, short period, so less than 12 months. Here, the taxpayer, other than individual, with the approval of the commissioner, changes his accounting period from fiscal year to calendar year, or from calendar year to fiscal year, or from fiscal year to another, under Section 47 of the NIRC. So when the taxpayer dies, applicable to the descendants, final income, personal income tax covering the beginning of the taxable year until his death, and the income of his estate and the estate tax return under Section 90, Paragraph A of the NIRC. Also, this applies to corporations which are newly organized. So when a corporation is newly organized, it's just open up for business, a short period may be applied. And also when the corporation is dissolved. And lastly, the tax period is terminated by the Commissioner by authority of law under Section 6, Paragraph D of the NIRC. So the short period will be used. So that's basically it for my discussion about income tax. A separate discussion will be made for the other concepts of income tax. I hope you learned something for today's discussion and stay safe. Thank you. Bye bye.